Hey there, everybody. Thanks for joining me for another one-man review. I say this every time I get a new Andrew White book, but it's always a good day when I get a new Andrew White book. Andrew's been doing the yearlies for a number of years now. I forget how far back I have them going, but 2018, 2019 at least. These are collections of works that Andrew has done over the year. These come out kind of about this time, so often they collect like the end of one year and then most of the year. So this probably has a few things from the end of 24 and mostly from 25. I think this one actually, he says it's all actually been made in 2025 for the first time. It's quite a bit smaller than a lot of the other yearlies. A lot of the other yearlies even come as like 3 books combined. So that when I got it, I was a little sad, like, oh, it's so small. But I know Andrew's been working on editing old stuff together to make more long form books. And then when you read the inside, which always in the yearlies has like an update about all the books that he's been reading, the music he's been listening to, projects he's been working on. This one has a essay in it that's about Andrew having a child being born. So Andrew has a son now, and it's talking about how much harder it is to make comics in between a job, being a parent. I've always wondered how the hell Andrew produces as much as he does anyways. Like, it's just like, how does this someone that's just like independently wealthy or what? But it's showing up that he just probably works pretty quick, but now that he's got a kid, it's even harder. So that kind of like where I think the smaller yearly issue comes from amongst the other larger projects that are ongoing. And it's interesting that he's saying this has forced him to kind of find those in between moments to do drawings, talking about just carrying a sketch pad around and like sketching on the way to things and from things and then compiling those together. So working in maybe a more direct way than usual. And what you get from that is a lot of shorter little stories. So where Andrew's really leaning into his abilities as a cartoonist to make really succinct little poems. He says that he thinks about the stories in here as parables, but they're almost like visual poems or something. So think more of like a single panel cartoon, but then given multiple panels, but still that kind of brevity of representation and thought. So you get a page like this where it just shows like an idea forming in someone's head and then being negated. It has a lot of Andrew's kind of standard production tricks by now, where a couple different drawings will be overlaid. Here we have like a gray on top of it. That relationship between a stronger foreground image and an overlay is something Andrew does a lot. Something that, that stood out to me immediately and made me love Andrew as an artist and has influenced my work. And then you also get some of these stories called thoughts, where you're really following a character through like a very slow moment by moment kind of interaction with the world, like waking up and flexing your fingers. Andrew has a really keen eye for that kind of stuff, a keen eye for what a human eye would pay attention to as they're going about the day, what their thoughts would be. And with no dialogue, you can kind of just follow along, and then you're in your own thoughts, taking the place of the character a little bit, but every now and then getting like look at what they're feeling like as well. So some beautiful cartooning in there, beautiful storytelling. You can also see Andrew's interest in abstract representation. So just lines like this that communicate something, this attempt to communicate sound, talking about someone's voice and like how hearing someone's voice is going to make you start remembering them. I feel like a lot of Andrew's work is always very much about the unstable nature of memory, and so like this representation of the voice and then coming in and representing like your mind trying to form an image of someone's face, but it's kind of shifting. I know some people can hold the face in their mind really clearly, but I've always had this is a really good representation of what things look like in my mind, is this kind of constantly shifting set of lines that represent, especially like here, the perimeter of someone. So I think Andrew shows a really, really keen awareness of like how the human brain works and how to represent that in imagery, which to me is, like that's kind of the core of cartooning anyways, representing the way the brain works while interacting with the world in an image. So yeah, one of the most powerful cartoonists we have. today. And I think probably the most like sensitive cartoonist we have today in terms of representing more core internal subjective experiences, rather most cartoonists dealing with public symbolism and public thought. I think Andrew's like the greatest cartoonist for dealing with subjective experience that we have right now. And here's another one I really like that makes use of these overlays. And again, it's called Quiet, and it just says quiet, listen. That's all there is to it. It's a one-page comic. And again, kind of this representation of the phenomena of the internal experience of a memory getting jumbled up, I think is what's going on here. And thematically, he says that this book, like, he didn't want to make it just a diary comic about the first year as a dad, but thematically, a lot of these things are related to becoming a dad. Like, of course, you're going to do that. So I think you have some things here where Andrew's delving through his own memories. Like, I see a kid next to a slide, and thinking about like some advice someone gave him once, hey, just quiet down, listen up. These are all a bit opaque in terms of what they actually mean, because they're presented in this one page kind of poetic, or as he says, parable format. So you don't get this real clear idea of where this is derived from in his life. But I like that better than something that says, I remember this one time when my dad took me out, and there's too much exposition. So I think, again, it just shows that Andrew is a cartoonist through and through in writing, in composition, in drawing, all of that. And yeah, really, really powerful stuff. One of those artists that I will always immediately pre-order anything that they do. And no matter how sick of it people get, I'm always going to talk about it on the channel, because I think this is work that I think this is one of the best artists we have working right now, and someone that should be talked about way more, and someone who should be selling way more books and have a way larger audience. So go get you some Andrew White. There's plenty of it out there, and it's all great.
Make sure to like, smash that subscribe button, and ring that bell.